be working with Castor, backing up and desensitizing to the sticks. So I've got my bag of hay, and he seems pretty relaxed with me feeding him the hay, and he is also motivated enough to stay here even though he does have grass. So that's working out well for the time being. So this is what I want my cue to be for him to back up, is just me waving my hand toward his chest. It kind of depends on what you want your cue to be. I have a couple different cues to back up now. But this one works well because you have some movement in it and it comes pretty natural to people when they want something to move away from them. So it works pretty good. Castor caught on to this quite easily and quickly. Um, and I do have the sticks there to back it up too if I needed to, or you could use a target. So every time he shifts his weight back or takes a full step, I'm going to click and then go ahead and feed him. I want to make sure that he can do this on both sides and while I'm standing in front of him as well. But I want him to start with his head straight, staying nice next to me, and then I'll ask the cue. So there he just didn't know what to do, so he's getting confused. So I'm just going to put him back. He knows how to target my hand. I'll put it back in a position where it's going to be easiest for him to perform this, and then I'll ask again. And there we go. And he didn't do a great step back, but he did do a step back, and I really want to clarify for him what it is that I want. So in the beginning, don't be too worried if he's backing up crooked or taking a weird step. Anything that's backward movement in the beginning is okay. So I don't want to get too crazy with being specific in the beginning and then the horse is just confused because he was throwing in these other behaviors that's showing me that he doesn't really know exactly what it is that I want. He got confused once I switched sides, so I could have also stayed more on that left side and spent some more time there and working on that. Right here I'm just going back to my first step, which is just stand next to me quietly. So I'm just reviewing that since he wanted to throw in those behaviors as well, and he did good for those, and that was excellent as well. And then I just went on and went ahead with asking for the backup again. So my other cues are going to be he knows how to target to back up, and he also knows the word back. So then I can use that under saddle, and the target really helps because it puts him in a correct position to back up, and they're not backing inverted, and I'll show you that later on. But in this video, this is just my experimental phase with Mustangs here. You've seen the other round pen video with him. There's the cue, and then I'll click there and feed him. So you saw the other round pen video with him where I was doing some negative reinforcement work with the whips. That didn't seem to be working really well. The positive reinforcement seemed to work best. So that's what I'm going with at this point, but I'm still kind of blending and figuring things out. So he has learned how to touch or be touched, and to touch the whips and kind of allow them to be around him with both negative and positive reinforcement. Now I'm switching more to just positive. So when I pick up the whip and it touches him on the neck, then I'm clicking and feeding. And that's what I'm doing right here. So I'm just picking it up, touching his side, clicking, and then going ahead and feeding. So in the previous video where he's in the round pen, I did work on that just with negative reinforcement. It went okay, but you could tell his body language, he was a lot more worried and confused, and so I just went with this, and this worked the best, and this is what I've been doing ever since. So that's what worked best for him. But he did learn how to target it using positive reinforcement, and you've seen that in the videos before the round pen video, but that's kind of the history behind it. So I'm just starting kind of on his neck, shoulder area, and then I'm going to work my way down on his belly and his hip, just clicking as I go. And he's staying pretty relaxed here. He's got a nice level top line. He's chewing nicely. He's not backing up. His eyes don't look wide. So I'm going to just continue on because he does do well with this. You'll see in Atlas's videos I had to spend a lot more time on this particular exercise because he was a lot more worried than Castor was. So it just depends on your horse and where they're at. But um, if you take the time to do it right, then it's going to take less time. So not a big deal there. I'm going to let him chew his hay, and then I'll go ahead and work on the hind legs. He's a little skeptical on the hind legs, but that wasn't bad. And I'm not asking for a lot of time with the whip touching him. It's just a touch. I'm clicking as soon as it touches him, taking it off, and feeding him his hay. So I'm going to repeat on this side. It's a little hard to see. The camera wasn't in the best of angles, but this was the first video I had showing me do this, so I thought it was good to see. So, but yeah, I'm just touching it, clicking there, and then going ahead and giving him a piece of hay. And I like how he's standing. He's nice and relaxed. So he's got that first lesson that I did with him where he just stood quietly at default and stand relaxed next to me. And then from there, I could do the back and I could do this, and you can do a lot of other behaviors. But that's your starting point. Because the behavior that happens before you start asking for another one that gets rewarded is also going to be rewarded somewhat. So I want that standing quietly. Then I'll go ahead and desensitize, and then that's being rewarded. So they have the opportunity to perform another behavior that's being rewarded, if that makes sense. So but I really like his body language here. He doesn't look super concerned. If you compare this to the one where he was in the round pen, it's night and day. So it's pretty awesome to see the difference. But and he's working quite well with me hand feeding him and him actually touching my hand with his lips, so that's working out well. And I didn't get rid of the whips altogether because I do offer a nice extension of my hand when I'm working on his hindquarters and legs.